your former shop and
Right, I think it's time to feed back, if that's okay. We've got just under 15 minutes to capture some of these ideas. Okay, we're going to start with Lizzie's table, who were looking at
So we were talking about reducing the impact of goods and services, and we discussed, actually we had a nice conversation about language, about goods, the word good and the word service, and that implicit in those there should actually be something that is good and something that is a service. That was somewhere I expected us to go. We talked about convenience and about drop-off points, access points, pick-up points for various different things, delivery services, using bicycles, which we talked about in the transport session last week, about trying to make kind of local and second-hand and other shopping modes as convenient and as kind of, you don't have to think about it so hard, as kind of mainstream, if you like, high street shops and supermarkets. Two more things. One was a very practical one about, as well as the toy library, what about a kids' shoe library, or a pre-loved school uniform scheme for those things that people outgrow very quickly, that hasn't been used very much. And then also we talked towards the end about neighbourhood activities, so rather than the town, actually what's happening in local neighbourhoods, neighbourhood buying clubs, neighbourhood garage sales, neighbourhood sharing and borrowing, and actually it came back to that point of the community. And if you know your neighbours, you're more likely to ask for help with something and to share what you have, rather than everybody necessarily to accumulate for themselves.
So just to say that Anna will collate all this. So, I mean, I don't think any of us are going to attempt to feed everything back. So stuff will get collated and then sent around and shared, and then obviously the ideas that actually work, then the ones that Anna chooses will make it.
the ones I like shoes,
yeah,
local
Anna likes shoes,
cardos.
so the ones that Anna likes will make it through to the final thing, and then you go, well, what about my really good idea? Anyway, so I will attempt to highlight some of the ones which were particularly pertinent. This table was more sharing, more skill sharing, more of that kind of thing, and then a lot of that linking into education as well. Lots of stuff about education, so people really understand what's going on. If I jump to the third one, I wrote it down, but it was just what they were saying is tell the truth. And actually, there's something about the town council could be sharing some of the information on what actually happens. There's a general feeling that a lot of people don't really know what's happening, and even if we think something's being collected, you get this sort of rumour of, yeah, but it's all going to China, isn't it? Which sort of undermines it. I mean, is it, isn't it? Who knows? And who's telling us? You know. So we could be doing more of that, even to local level. So lots of stuff around extending what we already do, extending the share centre, a permanent base for repair. Shoes are a big thing in Frome. And a couple of bits around business too. The need to, again, the town council, or we as a town, could be doing some of that work on waste in inverted commas to usage, sort of circular economies. So helping companies to kind of think through that actually their waste would, for instance, needn't to be waste because there's somewhere else that could use it. So us doing some of that work. There was a call for an amnesty for electronic crap. So basically, you know, with somebody who has all this electronic crap under their bed, who doesn't want to take it away, but just feeling we've got to go anyway. And also to lobby for to revoke the Enclosures Act. Because actually, it all comes down to the Enclosures Act. So you can find out about that later. More information. Tell the truth. Yeah. But basically, we need to be doing more sharing, more, you know. And if we got rid of the Enclosures Act, that would happen. And visits, the education, including visits to places like sewage works, recycling centres, so that we as a community better understand what's going on.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, fine.
There's this tension between, actually, what we're talking about is the reducing impact of food and land use. And there's a tension between, I suppose, what we currently do, which is go to the supermarket a great deal and rely very much on that, and shopping locally and trying to find a way to change that balance. And that seems to largely come down to promoting awareness in one way or another through educational programs, on the one hand, and on the other, coming back to the enclosures thing, land reform, and lobbying in a variety of different ways to change how land gets passed on and gets used. Perhaps there is more room for pressure to be brought on those who are thinking about what they would like to do with land immediately around Frome in terms of building more houses and what kind of houses they'd like to build and so on and so forth. So there might be ways to take advantage of a variety of different initiatives which are there, like the self-build registrar, which apparently might be used for promoting sort of more kind of shareholder type schemes where people kind of living on the land and then actually producing their own food on the land. Perhaps it'd even be possible for the Frome Town Council to advertise increasing the precept to generate an investment fund which would then could buy land and then promote these kind of initiatives. Alongside all of that, there is also the important part of remembering food waste as a way of trying to reduce the impact of actually consuming food, and there are a few possible ways of going about doing that, which would be, I suppose the most practical one was a food app which is called Olio, which promotes, I suppose it's a kind of an online fridge,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean, that kind of idea, so that you can actually advertise the fact that you've got some excess food and somebody else can come and get it, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think it's really good to hear some, local ideas, but also some changes that need to happen, regionally and nationally. So in the action plan, we'll also be looking at, the sort of changes that we need to lobby for and finding examples from elsewhere, like we were talking on your table about in Shropshire, how they've enabled people to take on small holdings and do self-build more easily, just replicate some of those examples and help mend it in Somerset to do that too. Which leads on to my next slide. So in terms of the next steps, if you can leave your name so I can keep in contact with you, that would be brilliant. Next week, on the 5th, we've got Rob Hopkins, who set up the Transition Town movement, who's talking about unleashing the power of imagination. And if you want to, you can buy tickets from me tonight, or you can book them online. I can send a link, or we can do it on my computer. In January, on the 18th, we've got a swap shop in the town hall, because obviously lots of people get given things they don't necessarily want or need, and so the idea is you could swap it for something that you might do. And in January and February, we've got a big tree planting programme that will be starting, and we're going to be planting around 800 small trees at Waylands and 500 at Birch Hill. And so again, if you leave your details, it'll be in the town council newsletter and things as well, but it'd be great to kind of get everyone involved with that, because obviously we need lots of trees and we need lots of people to help with that. And on February the 6th, we've got Nikki Jones, who did an amazing programme of talks around energy and climate change. She's coming back to Frome to do her new talk around how to talk to family and friends about climate change. She's been doing it in Bristol, and apparently it's been very successful and well received. But linking in with what I was saying about lobbying, on the 15th of February, Somerset County Council are holding their climate summit at the district council offices in Shepton Mallet, and that's a key opportunity to go and say, look, these are the things we need you to do. So really, I'd encourage you to get involved with that. And on the 23rd of February, we've got the Repair Cafe at the Welsh Mill Hub, which obviously can help reduce the embodied impact of our resources. And then on March the 3rd, Mendip are going to be holding their climate summit here at the Town Hall. And again, it's another key opportunity, particularly around things like planning. We need to be saying to them, look, you need to make it easier for us to live off the land and grow sustainably and tax businesses more that are polluting more, for example, because they're in charge of business rates, just to have all those ideas captured at that level as well, so that then we're kind of getting it in at all those different levels. And as mentioned, I'll be working on the report over the next month or two, and then hopefully having a draft by January the 22nd. And if your idea isn't in there, let me know and I'll talk about including it. This isn't, about a dictatorship. This is about democracy and participation. It's really important. And finally, on that note, we've been working with local schools to look at how we get sort of visions for a clean and green future for Christmas, for the Mayor's Christmas cards. And downstairs we've got 496 entries showing that depicting their vision of this clean, green future. So I'd recommend having a quick look. There's loads of them, but do have a quick look. Some of them are really, really great. And also, it will all be captured on the website, Frome Town Council Climate Emergency. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Thanks.